Whoops, I let it go on too long there. That's okay. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Phone Dog Live here on Ustream or otherwise on YouTube. If you're watching the recording of the podcast on YouTube, welcome to you also. Thanks for being here. We have a pretty good show, mostly iPhone stuff. It's not my fault, just because there's been a ton of iPhone leaks and pictures and a lot of really cool stuff. So most of the show is going to be that. I'm just warning you now. If you don't want to hear about that, this is your warning. So don't complain to me in the comments. All you talked about is the iPhone, because I warned you, okay? There is some other stuff, some Google Nexus tablet updates and a couple of things about maybe the Facebook phone if we can get to it. But there's just been a lot of iPhone leaks. If you are watching on YouTube, check out the description below the video, because I'll have a timeline there. You can jump around, and I'll try to have a very detailed timeline, even though, like I said, it's all iPhone stuff, but I'll try to have it as detailed as possible. So, basically, we've seen a ton of leaked pictures of the iPhone, it's cool because not only does it give us a chance to see what it's going to look like, but it also tells us a lot about the phone itself. Not just the design, but also the screen size. A couple of other things, we had heard rumors about a new dock connector, maybe Apple possibly getting rid of the home button. And so these pictures really tell us a lot about the phone besides just the design. And before we start, a lot of these are from, I won't get all the sources right because some of them are from like a Chinese website and I just won't be able to pronounce it correctly. But we have a lot from 9to5Mac and a couple of other websites. So just without further ado, we'll just get right into it and start talking about them. So this is the first one, and right off the bat you can see it's a new design. On the left there you've got the back of it, and so in the middle, that kind of like light gray part, that's made out of metal, and then you have the top and bottoms, which I'm assuming is still glass. So basically like the iPhone 4S and iPhone 4, still glass, but then in the middle there you've got metal. And then you can see on the right, it still has that unibody construction that Apple loves. They started using in their computers, their laptops, or MacBook Pros, excuse me. Here's a picture of the white model, and from this we can see, again what the white model will look like, but also on the bottom there, I believe that's the bottom, you can see the dot connector is a little bit smaller, and so this kind of coincides with rumors that we'd heard before, that they were going to use a different dock connector. We had originally had heard that with the new iPad, but it didn't really pan out, obviously. We're going to kind of, run through these pictures and then talk about it, because it's really exciting. I think, the new look, the new backplate with the metal back, I think it looks pretty cool. And then obviously you can tell that the screen is larger, as we're going to discuss after we run through them. But I didn't want to build up and then kind of like bury the lead. I just wanted to show you right off the bat the pictures. And so here again is the new iPhone screen on top of an iPhone 4S, and as you can see is clearly larger. So those are the pictures. I wanted to show you guys that's all of the exciting stuff. And but here's what we can tell from the pictures. So we saw the new design, obviously the metal back, glass tops. One of the interesting things about this design is that it has a unibody construction. Now, like I said, Apple has been using a unibody construction in their MacBooks, your MacBook Pros, a lot, and it helps them to fit more stuff into a smaller space. So they can kind of squeeze everything in there and make it much thinner, but also more durable and lighter. So what's exciting about the iPhone having a unibody construction is that, we've been hearing all of these rumors about the iPhone being an LTE device, having better battery life, or just, good enough battery life for an LTE device. And, a lot of times these days, we see LTE devices and they're always thicker. Like, that's what we noticed, if you remember the first couple of LTE phones that came out, like on Verizon, they were pretty thick. And it's kind of frustrating, but it was okay because, well, it's LTE, and that's why. It was kind of just one of those things you had to live with. And then Motorola got kind of smart and started taking away the removable battery feature, and by doing that, they could make them still LTE but kind of thinner. So Apple is going to be basically doing that same thing, non-removable battery, unibody construction, and it will allow them to pack in the LTE chip and still make it a fairly thin device. That's what we're thinking, at least. I mean, obviously having a unibody construction without the purpose of, okay, let's do this so we can have it be an LTE phone and still be thin. I mean, there's advantages to it without LTE, but I mean, come on. If the iPhone is not a true 4G device, true 4G in the way that we understand it, LTE or HSP plus, that's going to be ridiculous. And so I would be surprised if it weren't, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised. But that's kind of just one cool thing about, it having a unibody construction. Also, so the metal backplate, it appears that the antenna band is molded into the metal backplates, which is kind of interesting. One kind of saves on space, but also fixes this whole antenna issue that Apple has been having. And I have to admit, I've said before, the iPhone 4S, iPhone 4, it's one of the best looking phones on the market. I don't really like iOS. I'm not really... I just kind of don't like Apple. I would recommend the phone as one of the best phones, but it just doesn't really appeal to me personally. But I will say the iPhone 4 and iPhone 4S, one of the best looking phones on the market, just gorgeous. And, one of the aspects I really liked was the metal band around the sides. However, that caused problems because the metal band was actually the antenna, and so, when you're holding it, you're naturally covering up part of the antenna. So having it now in the back, that metal part, again, it lends itself to a great design where it looks good, but also has some use to it. And you can have the antenna back there. You could also see that it did have a spot for the home button. Let me see if I can get back one of the pictures that showed us this. Yeah, so you can see on the left here, and also on the right, you can see there's kind of a dip there in the bottom where the home button would definitely go. And so, we kind of heard rumors that it wouldn't have a home button, and that was one that I never really believed, but now we definitely know that it will have a physical home button. But the biggest thing is the screen size. And we've been hearing this for years. Actually for years. I mean, ever since before the iPhone 4, if I'm not mistaken, we had been hearing that the iPhone would have a larger display. And, you can go back and forth on why it should have a larger display. One, to keep up with the competition, you could say, well, Android phones, they have 4-inch displays, 4.3-inch, 4.5-inch, 4.7-inch. We have the Galaxy Note with a 5.3-inch display. So to keep up with the competition, they need to have a larger display. But just outside of that, not even comparing it to Android phones, 3.5 inches is a pretty small screen, and I mean, it's usable. It's got a great capacitive touchscreen. Apple has done a great job with their virtual keyboard. The OS is very well designed in terms of making it usable on a small screen. I mean, it's usable, but it is a kind of small screen, and when it first came out, it wasn't a problem because we never really used anything else. So you could say, well, when the iPhone first came out and we didn't have these 4-inch displays, no one seemed to care then. It's like, yeah, because we didn't know any better. We didn't know that a larger screen would actually be easier, but now that we have them, we're like, wow, this is so much easier than a tiny 3.5-inch display. I mean, I can't, a lot of times, you guys know I primarily review kind of like low-end to mid-range smartphones, and those phones usually have a 3.5-inch to 3.2-inch screen, and seriously, it's tiny, and I'm like, God, I can't imagine using this if it were the iPhone all day on this small screen. So this is one thing that we've been hearing for a long time, and I've said, kind of like the whole thing with LTE, my thinking is kind of the same. I would be surprised if the next iPhone, whatever it's going to be called, iPhone 5, iPhone 6, I would be surprised if it did not have a larger screen, a larger display. But at the same time, this is Apple we're talking about, and so at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't have a larger screen. However, that being said, these leaked pictures, if they are the real deal, they clearly show that it will have a larger display. And so based off of these, the pictures and the panels and what we can see, it should have about a 4-inch screen. Now, the panels themselves, the opening made for the screen, it actually measures about 4.08 inches, or about 4.1, 4.2 inches. However, on previous smartphones, the display has always been a little bit smaller than the actual opening for it. So, if the opening on these panels is about 4.1, 4.2 inches, the screen would probably be about 4 inches. And also the sources who leaked these pictures, they did confirm that it will be the same width as the current iPhone, but it will be taller. And this is something that we had heard. We'd heard before, but we hadn't really seen any evidence of it. It was kind of just somebody saying, oh, it's going to be taller, it's not going to be wider. And so we kind of believed it, but at the same time, not really. But now we actually have the panels, and if you look at them, you can tell it's not wider. It's just taller, which isn't surprising. I mean, most phones these days, aside from like Samsung, they tend to go with wider phones, but most, like HTC, Motorola, they go with the more narrow phones. And so, for Apple to go with that 16:9 aspect ratio, it's not entirely new or different, since a lot of people are already doing it. However, for Apple, it is kind of different. I talked about this last week because we already started hearing these rumors. Apple seems to like this square aspect ratio. This, with the iPad, the tablets, you would think, okay, I'm going to be web browsing and watching videos, whether it's movies or YouTube videos. Like, naturally, if it's a square device, you have letterboxing, which is what you have right now. So you would think they would make it, 16:9, but they decided not to for whatever reason. I don't know. So it's not entirely new, but for Apple, it kind of is kind of a stretch from what they normally do. But we can tell that it is taller and not necessarily wider. Also, if you guys could tell from the pictures, there is a bezel between the display and the edges of the phone. It's kind of a small bezel. Let me see if I can get a better shot here. So yeah, you can see there is a bezel. So we had heard before that it would have edge-to-edge technology in an effort to make the screen larger without having to make the phone larger. So we heard, well, if they go edge-to-edge, then that solves a problem. But from these pictures, we can see that there is a bezel, so there's no edge-to-edge technology. And this might just be me. Maybe you guys can look at the pictures and see, but it does look thinner. I mean, there's a bezel there, but it does look thinner than what, than the bezel on the current iPhone 4S or the iPhone 4. But at least we know that it will have a bezel. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, it will have a new dock connector. It's slightly smaller, and so Apple is going to use the extra space to increase the quality of the speakers. I guess just to make them larger or make them better somehow. And so having more space down there will help with that. Let's see. There's so much. Like I said, there's so many pictures, but it also tells us so much about the phone. The Chinese supplier who gave these pictures to 9to5Mac, they also claims that it will come in at least 2 other colors. Now, right now we have a black iPhone and a white iPhone. And most phones are just black or white. You have some phones like, the HTC One S and the One X. They kind of have like, maybe like a silver or metallic finish to them. We kind of see that with, darker colors. Manufacturers kind of mess around with that just to make them a little more interesting. But in terms of colors, it's really just black or white. Really nothing outside of that. Recently, though, we've kind of started to see more. And it was funny, I remember whenever this idea first came up of having a phone that's a different color. And at the time, it seemed so foreign and just out of this world. Like, what? A phone that's not black? What is this madness? But, now that we're actually starting to see phones that are, like the Lumia 900 that comes in cyan or magenta, it's like, this is actually kind of cool. I kind of like having a phone that's a different color. I thought it would be weird, but, when you see it in person, you're like, yeah, this totally works. I mean, you have to get the right colors, but it kind of worked. And so now to hear of an iPhone that comes in other colors, it's kind of interesting. Now, I'm a little hesitant to actually believe this rumor. According to, I believe it was 9 to 5 Mac again, they said that the person who supplied this information, they were the ones who were correct about the iPad coming in white. So they have a good track record, so it's possible that they're right about this. Now the question is, what other colors is it going to come in? Like I've said recently, we've seen cyan and magenta. We've seen yellow. Nokia did the Lumia 710 in yellow. I believe Huawei has done a couple of different colors, like yellow and pink. They've had the different caps on the bottom of their phones that you can kind of change out. We've seen those colors. We've seen red phones. They're usually like special edition phones, but a couple of Samsung devices, they came in red. The Motorola Razr, I think that also came in purple and blue. So it would kind of be interesting. So, what other colors are we going to see? I would guess something kind of neutral, like a blue, like, blue or cyan or, whatever shade they want to pick, but maybe something neutral like a blue. I can't see them doing pink. That seems a little too outside of the box for them. Of course, Apple, they pride themselves on thinking outside of the box, but not really since they created the box, but whatever. And yellow, I can't really see a yellow iPhone. But I don't know, then you think about the iPad, and they have those smart covers for the iPad, and what colors do those come in? That's like, they have pink. Actually, that's a good question, Sydney. You should look that up. And thank you, I will. Thank you for the compliment. I'm smart, so I have ideas sometimes. Yeah, let me see, what colors do those come in? Because that actually might give us a hint at what we could see. Smart cover. So we've got kind of a light blue, kind of basically like cyan, kind of a lime green, like a pastel lime green. There is a pink, it's kind of a pastel pink, and then you have gray and dark gray. And then the leather ones, they come in black, dark blue, red, and tan. And I can't really see those colors, but maybe the cyan, pastel green, pastel pink, maybe pastel colors. I could see a pastel colored iPhone. Not like a hot pink or a bright lime green, but maybe like a kind of subtle color to it. Of course, you look at the iPod, those have always come, well, I don't know always, but they've come in different colors. The iPod Nano, we've seen those in like, pink. So, yeah, maybe those are the colors that we'll see. Again, not sure if this is entirely true, but it would be interesting to see an iPhone in different colors, and that's the report. All of the the people who supplied all of these pictures, they say that it will be coming in a different color, so kind of interesting. And then we also saw a schematic that which is kind of, I don't know if you guys if you want to see it because it's really detailed, but this is a schematic. And so whenever you look at the layout and the design, this is again where we can see that it will have about a 4-inch display. This is where we were able to measure that the opening for the phone is actually about 4.08 inches diagonally. So this is where we got the idea that it would have a 4-inch display. So those are the iPhone rumors and tons of information. We were able to see it has a large display, smaller dock connector, the new back, the new design. What do you guys think of the new back? Guys on Ustream, let me know what you think of the new design, having that metal thick band across the middle and then still the glass on the top and the bottom. Does that appeal to you? I don't know. To me, it kind of, I don't know. I mean, I would have to get used to it. When I first saw it, I was like, bleh, I don't like that at all. Yeah, someone mentioned HTC style, and you're kind of right. Like on the On the iPhone, no, on the HTC One S, you can see it has a metal band, and then this isn't glass. I think it's also metal, but it's just different colors. Of course, HTC also has a black version of this, where I believe it is just one color. But anyway, so yeah, I kind of like that whole thing, except this to me is a little more subtle. Whereas the pictures that we saw, it seems like it's kind of pops more, like there's more separation, distinction. But I don't know, I'd have to see it in person in order to really see. But for right now, I'm a little iffy on it. I don't really like it. But kind of cool, to see some pictures, and it'll be interesting. Of course, if fall may roll around, the iPhone gets announced, and it looks nothing like this. So I don't know. Also, now as you guys know, WWDC is coming up June 11th, which is that next week? No, that's the week after next. So WWDC is not next week, but the week after that. The keynote will be on June 11th. And this is where they really announce all the cool stuff. I mean, the whole conference, they have, some interesting events, but really the keynote is where we see usually the new version of iOS. Last year, iOS 5 was made official at the keynote, and so we're expecting to see iOS 6 at this keynote, so week after next. What could we possibly see in iOS 6? Well, last week we talked about some of the new features that we could see that Apple would integrate in order to take advantage of the larger screen. But now we're starting to hear more rumors about Apple creating its own Maps application. As you guys know, the iPhone uses Google Maps for maps, obviously. And but we've heard for a long time that Apple has been wanting to kind of get away from that, mostly because Google is Android, which is their arch nemesis, and so it would make sense. Like, hey, we don't really want to use your services. So we've been hearing that for a while, but now we're actually starting to hear more about it and see a lot of pictures. And so now this is a report from Boy Genius Reports, which I will admit does not have the best reputation lately. They used to have a pretty good reputation for solid news and leaks, but in the past couple of years, I don't think any of their stuff has really been reliable. However, this is not just Boy Genius Report. There's a couple of other sites that also have leaked pictures, so I think it kind of backs it up a little bit. But this is actually a mock-up that Boy Genius Report has created based on what their sources are telling them about the new Maps application. They said it will have a silver navigation bar, as you can see at the top. Users will be able to locate themselves using a button that floats in the lower left corner. As you can see there, that arrow button. You'll be able to use that to find your location. And then as you can see, there's a 3D toggle button right next to the arrow, and that you can use to obviously toggle 3D maps. Now, that's from Boy Genius Report. Since then, we've got a couple of other reports from other sources that say that 3D button has actually been removed. They took it away so that users wouldn't mistakenly push it. And now you have to kind of flip up at the bottom of the page to see the toggle button. A couple of other leaked pictures. Now these are actually pictures. These aren't mock-ups. The first one was a mock-up, but here's an actual picture. Obviously, it doesn't tell us very much about it at all, but kind of get an idea of what it looks like. And you can see this silver button. This is very iOS. The silver navigation bar, that's very much iOS, so it's not anything out of the ordinary. And then again, you can see the arrows. So Apple Maps, is that what they would call it? Or just Maps? Probably just Maps. But will we see that next week after next at WWDC? It's looking like we could. I mean, these are some pretty solid rumors. We already see pictures. We know Apple probably wants to do this very badly, and if it's ready, I think we're going to see that. Although probably not, because Apple always disappoints. You know what we're going to see at WWDC? Probably nothing. We're probably going to see iOS 6. This is what we're going to see at WWDC. Now keep in mind that every prediction I've ever had has been wrong, so the opposite of this is basically what's going to happen. But this is what I think is going to happen. iOS 6 is going to be announced. is going to look exactly like iOS 5. Basically no changes. They're going to add like some stupid little thing that's, I don't know, touted as magical and revolutionary, but it's not really. We're not going to see widgets. We're not going to see any new features that would take advantage of a larger screen. We're not going to see a Maps application. We're not going to see any of that. It's just going to be iOS 6 with a couple of new features or updates, and that's it. That's my prediction, because that's always what happens at Apple events. We get all excited and we have all these predictions. We're going to see Apple TV. We're going to see an iPad mini or an iPhone Max HD with a 1080. We get all of these crazy ideas when we believe them, and then we go there and none of it happens. So that's what I think is going to happen. We're not going to see any of this stuff. But like I said, opposite of what I say always happens. So there you go. I just gave you hope. You know what? We may even see the new iPhone. No, we're not going to see the new iPhone. We're going to see iOS 6, but probably nothing exciting. But the keynote is on June 11th. And of course, we'll be covering that. I don't know if Aaron is going, but if he's not, I'm sure he will still be live blogging. Or, regardless, we're going to keep you updated. We'll have constant updates throughout the day. Excuse me, I need to get a drink of water. I apologize. This is a personal story, which I know you guys hate. So if you're watching on YouTube, use the timeline to skip this. Don't complain to me. So I've been sort of okay, I'm gonna talk. I've been on this kind of diet thing, not really to lose a lot of weight, but just to eat healthier. And so I've been trying to drink as much water as I'm supposed to. And, for a girl, I'm supposed to drink like 60 ounces a day or something, which is a lot. So I'm constantly just drinking water, like water, drinking, like bottle after bottle after bottle, just drinking water. And so yesterday I went and got a latte because I love lattes. It's amazing, but I hadn't had one in so long because I'm sticking to water. And I drank it, and it was the first liquid I'd had that wasn't water. And not only had it been so long, but I've been drinking so much water that to have something else besides water, it was like, the heck is this? It was totally crazy. My mouth was completely like about to just explode because it was such a foreign taste. So anyway, I've been drinking so much water, and I'm so tired of water, but like this is how much I'm supposed to drink. It's crazy, so much. It's unbelievable. Anyway, the iPhone could be coming to Cricket the iPhone is coming to Cricket on June 22nd. We're hearing that the iPhone could be coming to Boost Mobile, but that's a rumor. And supposedly it's going to happen in September. But the iPhone is coming to Cricket on June 22nd, which is about a week after WWDC. So it's, Cricket obviously prepaid carrier, so you will be paying full price for it. The iPhone 4S is going to be $500, and the iPhone 4 is going to be $400. And then their plans are $55 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. You do have a data cap of 2.3 gigabytes, but, it's still a lot. But 55. So yeah, for prepaid, Cricket will be the first prepaid carrier to offer the iPhone, which is very exciting. And not that everybody doesn't already have an iPhone, but it might motivate more people to get an iPhone, even though you still have to pay full price for it. But I know personally, I've thought about trying out the iPhone since, I've used the iPhone in the past, but I haven't used one as my personal device in a long time. So I've thought about, getting an iPhone. However, I'm on T-Mobile, who obviously doesn't have the iPhone. And, I really don't want to buy an unlocked one or unlock it and then get a new micro SIM because I don't have a micro SIM. Or I don't want to switch to AT&T and go through all that trouble. So I just thus far haven't done it. But for prepaid, I might actually try that, and then, I don't know, maybe sell it afterwards after I try it out for a month. Cricket is a CDMA carrier, so keep that in mind. You can't take your unlocked AT&T iPhone and, use that. It's a CDMA carrier. But that's pretty cool. So, somebody asked about the T-Mobile. Will the iPhone be coming to T-Mobile? I'm starting to think never. I'm starting to think that the iPhone is never coming to T-Mobile, because think about all of the carriers who now have the iPhone, aside from, the major ones, AT&T, excuse me, Verizon, Sprint. We now have, Cricket, a prepaid carrier. There are a couple of other regional carriers that now carry the iPhone. We heard about it like coming to Metro PCS, I think, or something like that. Now Boost Mobile, like virtually every single freaking carrier in the US Cellular, yeah, has the iPhone, except for T-Mobile. And so now I'm starting to think that it's completely intentional. Like, not even, oh yeah, oh, you want the iPhone? I didn't know that. But now it's like, now I'm starting to think that they have this personal vendetta against T-Mobile, which I'd heard before, that supposedly the CEO of Deutsche Telekom and Steve Jobs had a little falling out. And so it was like a personal thing that T-Mobile never had the iPhone. But then I heard it's not really so much that, it's just that T-Mobile, their 3G bands are all jacked up, which is really dumb. They use different 3G bands than other GSM, like pretty much every other GSM carrier in the world. They use different 3G bands, which is really annoying. That's one of the reasons why if you get an unlocked smartphone, whether it's the iPhone or anything else, and you use it on T-Mobile, you only get edge speeds because they use different 3G frequencies. So someone said, well, it's because of that. To have it on Sprint and Verizon, they really only had to have one model. To have it on Cricket, CDMA is still just the same CDMA model. Whereas for T-Mobile, they would have to create a completely new phone specifically made for T-Mobile. And I guess they just don't want to do that. And maybe T-Mobile doesn't want to go through a lot of trouble because they already have 1 million customers who are using the iPhone. So they're probably like, yeah, it's not even worth it. So I don't know. Yeah, is T-Mobile going to get the iPhone? I'm starting to think that they're never going to get it. But that's the iPhone news. And the amazing thing is that we still have time to talk about other stuff. So don't worry, I got you covered. If you don't want to talk about the iPhone all day, we have some other stuff. So let's start with the Google Nexus tablet. We first heard about we didn't first hear about it, but we heard about it last week. And the rumor was that it will be, I need to get another drink of water. I'm really sorry. I guess I've been drinking so much of it that to go for 30 minutes without it, my body's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Do you like the Cindy Crawford Pepsi commercial? Did I ever tell you guys about that? Yeah. I could do it like that, but no. So, yeah, we heard last week that the Nexus tablet could be announced at Google I/O, which is June 27th and 28th, at the end of this month. But not only will it be announced at Google I/O, but attendees could be getting one, which was really exciting. But now, so here's a new development. An entry for a tablet named Google Asus Nexus 7 has appeared on a benchmarking site, and I will show you guys the screenshot of this. So as you can see, it's called Google Asus Nexus 7. This is a benchmarking site, so it tells us a little bit about the tablet. You can see it lists it with a 1.3 gigahertz quad-core Tegra 3 processor. The 7 in the name kind of tells us that it's going to have a 7-inch display. It says it will have a resolution of 768 by 1280. It also lists a new build version of Android. It says Android 4.1, but it lists the build as JRN51B. Now, and the guess is that the J stands for Jelly Bean, which is kind of interesting because, previously we had thought that Jelly Bean, the next version of Android, would be 5.0, which kind of made sense because, we went from 3.0 to 4.0, and so now we're thinking the next version is going to be 5.0. Which would make sense, for one, just to make it simpler, like, boom, 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 not like 3.2 or 3.3.8.7. I mean, obviously, there's those minor incremental updates, but for the most part, the major upgrades, it's just going to be 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, and then the smaller ones in between. But now, is Jelly Bean not necessarily going to be 5.0? Is it just going to be 4.1? Again, going back to why it would make sense, not just to make it simpler, but also this whole the fragmentation thing, okay? If Jelly Bean is such a major upgrade, don't you think it should be like at least 4.5? But instead, now we're going to have some people on 4.0 or 4.0.2 or 4.0.2.0.3, and then some people on 4.1 or 4.1.5 or 4.1.5.8.2. It's just all of these different versions, and if you just have major upgrades, it makes it a lot simpler in terms of knowing what to get out. Manufacturers know what to focus on and which update do we need to get out. It just makes the whole problem really go away. So I was kind of surprised to hear that Jelly Bean might not be 5.0, it might be 4.1. Now, does that mean that Google is going back to its stupid ways of fragmentation, or does it just mean that Jelly Bean isn't as big of an update as we thought it was? Totally possible. I mean, that's completely possible because if you think about it, with Honeycomb and Ice Cream Sandwich, Android just got a major visual UI overhaul, and aside, so they're not going to do another overhaul again 6 months later. That wouldn't make sense. You have one major overhaul, and then you go with it until it gets outdated or you need to change it. But you can't have major visual overhaul like every 3 months. That doesn't make any sense. So aside from that, really, it kind of would just be, minor upgrades, maybe a couple of new features. So maybe Jelly Bean is just kind of a minor update, like a 4.1, and not necessarily from 4.0 to 5.0. On the one hand, it's incredibly disappointing, but also, at least, hey, if you don't get it, which you probably won't, at least you won't be missing out on anything major. You gotta look at the bright side there. But anyway, it's still kind of exciting. I mean, quad-core Tegra 3 processor, 1.3 gigahertz, 7-inch, kind of surprising. But then again, we had heard rumors that they were going to try to price it at about $200. So it would make sense for it to have a 7-inch display to kind of keep the price down. So that's that. And again, it kind of confirms that it will be made by Asus, which is what we'd heard before. But now it confirms it again. So let's see, we have a couple of minutes before we move on to the open Q&A. And the people on Ustream are talking about Yahoo. Oh, somebody said Google it, and then somebody else said Yahoo it. Yeah. Facebook phone. Would you like to talk about the Facebook phone? Okay, so Facebook phone, which is... I was joking about this in the dog pound this Monday. This is totally new. I've never heard of a Facebook phone. But, this rumor, it kind of gave us some insight into why we've heard about the Facebook phone so much. Because, supposedly, according to the sources, Facebook has actually attempted 3 times to make a Facebook phone. So that's probably why we've heard so many rumors, off and on, yes, no, because... It's not just because they've been working on it continuously for the past couple of years, but because they've tried, and then it fails, and they tried again. So that's why the rumors have kept, getting churned up, and then down, and then up. And the reason why it didn't work before is because Facebook realized that they couldn't make their own hardware. They were going to try to make their own hardware, do all of it from scratch, straight up, just pure Facebook, but now they're kind of realizing they can't make their own hardware, and they might not even make their own software. There were kind of reports of, originally, is this going to be a Facebook OS? I mean, is it going to be a completely new operating system, or are they just going to build off of Android and kind of make it, like a customized version? I think that would make more sense. This is from sources speaking to the New York Times. They say that Facebook is planning to release its own smartphone by next year. And they've even hired several Apple software and hardware engineers to work on the project, including ones that have worked on the iPhone and iPad. So now that doesn't mean that it's going to look like iOS or it's going to look like the iPhone, but it kind of gives you an idea of what they're going for in terms of simplicity, overall look and feel, kind of like that kind of refined OS and UI. Now again, Will they be building off of Android? Like I said, I think that would make the most sense. And it doesn't, I think what would help for them if they want to be completely unique, because it looks like that's what they're trying to do, they should do what Amazon did. Amazon, the Kindle Fire is Android. It runs Android 2.3? I can't remember. But as you can see, it looks nothing like Android because they've completely customized. I play Draw Something a lot. I have like several games going right now, like I think 10 or 12 or something. But anyway, so it looks nothing like Android because they have a completely custom UI on top of it. It's not like HTC Sense or TouchWiz. It's a completely new UI. And so that I think is the direction that that Facebook should go in. Create what looks like a new OS, but it's really not. It's really just building off of Android. Again, kind of similar to the Grid 10. I don't know if you guys remember that tablet. They had that whole campaign, Who is Tabco? Do you guys remember that? And it turned out to be the guys who created the Juju. So the Grid 10, that was built off of Android, but the UI was so completely different that it looked like a new OS. And so I think Facebook should try to do the same thing. If they're going for unique, if they're trying to be different, I think that would be the easiest way to do it. Because building your own operating system, that's going to take a lot of work. And it's not going to be easy. It would be so much easier to just build off of Android. However, Facebook has made a couple of acquisitions that may help them to build their own OS. They acquired Instagram. The rumors are that they're looking to acquire Opera, the third-party mobile developer, or mobile browser, third-party browser developer. So, are they looking to have, maybe that's their camera app and then their web browser? Is this the makings of a Facebook OS? I don't know. Who knows? It's very interesting, but at least we're hearing again that there will be a Facebook phone. Now, a couple of people have mentioned, like, didn't they already have a Facebook phone? HTC made the Salsa and the Cha-Cha, which were in the US. That was the HTC status. And it was the Facebook phone. It had a keyboard. I think I still have that phone, actually. And it had a Facebook button at the bottom. And it was kind of the Facebook phone, but it wasn't... I don't think that was what Facebook was actually talking about. I think that phone just happened to come out around the same time, and so everyone thought, oh, okay, that's what it is. All right, we're done with that. The phone is released now. I don't think that's actually what it is. I think Facebook wants its own phone. Now, they're going to have to partner, obviously, with a manufacturer, but I think it's kind of exciting. I don't use Facebook really at all. I use it for, on Wednesdays, we do like a Phone Dog Q&A where I get online and I say, hey guys, what's up? We do that on our Facebook page. That's really the only time I use Facebook because it just does not make any sense to me. So if they made like a Twitter phone like that, that might actually be kind of cool. But then at the same time, I don't need it. I have a Twitter app and that's really it. That's really all I need. So I don't know. And Mark Zuckerberg, he said... he is concerned that Facebook will simply become an app on other mobile platforms if the social network doesn't create a smartphone of its own. And I'm like, what's wrong with that? He's afraid that they're just going to be an app. Well, yeah, you're a website, like Yahoo doesn't have its own operating system. Google does have its own operating system, but Twitter doesn't have its own. There's a lot of ESPN doesn't have its own operating system. You're a website, like that's what you do, and you have an app and it works great. You have integration into the OS. Like, I don't see what's wrong with that, but apparently he thinks this is a big deal. Like, we need to be a smartphone, otherwise we're going to die. So, I don't know. Of course he did. He's a billionaire, and he created it from scratch, unless he actually stole it from someone. I don't know. So I'm sure he's smart enough to figure it out. But that's the news. That's it. And we're done. We can move on to the open Q&A. And so, yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. Sydney, I am learning Windows Phone development. Any simple app we really need? A Phone Dog app? No, not really. if we did a phone dog app, we would design it ourselves or pay somebody to do it, so you don't have to worry about that. But I've thought about like looking into Android development or Windows Phone development or something and like developing a phone dog app, because I know you guys ask about it all the time. But a simple app we really need. I think of them all the time. Oh, you know what you should create? Okay, two apps that I would like to have. An app that tells me where the nearest basketball court is. I know that sounds stupid, but I can't tell you how many times we go out to play basketball and the court is being used, and so we have to find another one, and you have to just find them. You have to just know where they are. But if there was like a directory of where all of the basketball courts were, it sounds really useless, but it'd be really useful. Or an app. Okay, what's the other one I was thinking of? There was another one that would say where. I can't remember. Anyway, that one would be helpful. I like to have that one. Sydney, do you think Sony will make a Windows phone? I don't know. You guys need a phone dog app. Engadget has an app. Engadget is also owned by who? AOL or something? Yeah. What manufacturer would be best for Facebook? Well, my favorite manufacturers, I'm really enjoying HTC's designs lately. I've always kind of been a Samsung person, but lately I'm really liking HTC, so that would be nice. The web version of PhoneDog I think is too complicated. It's gotten simpler over the years. Since I've been working for PhoneDog, we've had, I think, 3 designs, and it's gotten better. I really liked the first one. I think the first one was the best one that we had. I hated the second one. Don't tell anyone that, but I did. But the third one, the one that we have right now, it's a lot better. But we're actually working on a new design right now. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you that, but I just did. So hopefully Aaron isn't watching. So yeah, if you don't like it, then you can maybe see something new. I don't know when it's going to be debuted, but sometime. My mom is buying her first smartphone. Which phone would you suggest, Lumia 900 or Galaxy Nexus? Well, for a first-time smartphone owner, Windows Phone is incredibly simple. So, I would say that one. The Galaxy Nexus is a good phone. I don't think it would be too complicated. Okay, which one would I recommend? If you think about, the Galaxy Nexus has a better screen. Android is more popular. Like I said, Windows Phone is more simple, so it might be easier for her to understand or to get, to pick up on. Yeah, that's a tough one. It really just depends on what she wants out of her phone. Really, and really only you know that. So, because just phones in general, they're both very equal, so I can't really say which one is better. What if Apple releases the iPhone 4S2 with 4G and a better front camera, and that's it? Think of the riots. Yeah, I don't know. Have you received the HTC Evo V yet? No. I love my Galaxy S3, best phone I've ever owned. Yeah, the Galaxy S3 is a pretty awesome phone. I'm getting used to it. At first I hated it, but I'm getting used to it. Is Facebook buying BlackBerry if they fail? I don't know. I found an article about you on Windows Mobile Power User. Awesome. Have you received... Oh, I just answered that. Sydney, do you like playing around with Android modding and hacking? Yeah, that I don't really get too much into, and this was something I talked about whenever I was thinking about switching back to Android. I used it for several years, and then I switched to Windows Phone, and then I decided to go back to Android. And the customization I loved. I love doing all the customization, but I just don't have a lot of time. There's so much other responsibilities I have, and it takes up, because I like it so much, I'll spend hours on it, and I just don't have hours to spend on it. So I enjoy it, but I don't really do it too much. I go through spurts where I do, and then when I don't. My friend went to a T-Mobile store and they told her the Galaxy Note is coming very soon and the iPhone should be coming in August. Okay. What about the Asus tease video with Windows 8 and Android? Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about that, but if you guys saw the videos from Asus, kind of giving us like teasers for what to expect at the Computex event, which is next week. The guess, based on the teasers, is that we might see a tablet, a dual booting tablet, Windows 8 and Android. Do you have a pet? No, I don't. Sydney, what was your first phone? It was a Samsung flip phone on Sprint. It was a long time ago. I was 18, so it was about 6 years ago. I understand you, Sydney. Good. That's good. I'm glad you understand me. Who are you going for in the playoffs? The Spurs. Yeah. Obviously, I hate the Heat, because everybody does. And, I don't mind the Thunder. It's just that I don't think the Thunder can beat the Heat. And so I would rather the Spurs go. Of course, the Spurs got destroyed last night by the Thunder. But I think the series is over, really. The Spurs didn't have a good game last night. They didn't play their basketball. They didn't play the way that they usually play. And so I don't think that was... I don't think that's going to happen again. I think the Spurs are going to win that series. And I think they're going to win the championship, but that's just me. What do you think about the HTC Evo 3D? That is what Virgin is getting for 4G, and I'm thinking about getting it. Yeah, sure, for Virgin Mobile, yeah, it's going to be one of their best phones. If you want to pay the money, I think it'd be a good option. Hi, Sid, do you use a tablet? If so, which one? Yeah, I have the Kindle Fire. Sports. Yeah, I know. I'm not going to talk about it unless somebody else asks me, but... Okay, have you heard about the zombie in Miami? No, I haven't. What's your draw something name? I don't know. I would have to check. I just came up with it. I think it's like S... I don't know. I would have to check. Can you spin a basketball on the tip of your finger? No, I can't. Sydney, what channels do you watch on YouTube? Let me see. YouTube. Subscriptions. Phone Dog, of course. Community Channel. I love Community Channel, even though she never makes a video anymore, but I like Community Channel. Crackberry.com, Droid Dog, How It Should Have Ended. Marquez Brownlee, I like his videos a lot. MKBHD, he does some of the best videos on YouTube, and he really does. I love his videos. Mobile Burn, Mobile Tech Review, Phone Arena, Phone Dog, of course. Pocket Now, The Verge, T-Mobile. I didn't realize I was subscribed to them. Timo News, Today's iPhone. I am subscribed to the Tomb Raider YouTube channel. Which reminds me, did you guys see the new Tomb Raider teaser? Oh my gosh, that game is going to be so freaking awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, so they're making a new Tomb Raider game, which we've known about for about a year, and it's going back to the beginning, like before she was Tomb Raider, when she was like, I don't know, 19 or 20. And so anyway, we've seen like, videos and stuff, but they had a teaser trailer of the gameplay, and it was freaking awesome. It was so just, I can't like words. I can't think of the words, but it was very cool. Yes. But what sucked was like, I was like, oh my gosh, that game's gonna be so cool. I want to get it. And then at the end of the trailer coming March 2013, I'm like, what the heck? 2013? That's a year. So I'm very upset about that. But if you haven't seen that teaser, you should totally watch it because that game's going to be freaking awesome. And then, yeah, okay, so Tomb Raider, I'm subscribed to that one. So that's, and then I also watch other videos, but I mean, those are the ones I'm subscribed to. Sydney, do you play on Xbox or PS3, PlayStation? I used to have an Xbox, but we sold it. Now we have a PlayStation 3. I'm the Miami Zombie. Awesome. Why PS3? Just the exclusive titles are ones that I play a lot more, like Uncharted. Just those kind of games I play a lot more than the ones that are exclusive to Xbox. Also, it has a Blu-ray player, which is kind of a big deal. I mean, it didn't seem like a big deal until we actually got it and compared it to our DVD player. It was like the DVD player looked like crap, and so that's a big deal. At the time, Xbox didn't have Wi-Fi and PlayStation did, so that was also a big thing. Um, and also at GameStop, when you trade in your games, you get more for your PS3 games than you do for your Xbox. For Xbox games, you get like $1. For PlayStation games, you get 50% back. So let me check Facebook since I haven't checked that yet, even though there's rarely any comments. Aaron does not have the Galaxy S3, so no, he hasn't done a dogfight. Oh, I guess somebody asked about that. Okay, do you use the Kindle Fire on a daily basis? Yeah, I do. I use it for, like, when I'm chilling on the couch, I'll check ESPN or, like, read news. I a lot of gaming, like draw something, Temple Run on Kindle Fire, which is so freaking awesome. I also use this other game, Word Pops. I like Word Pops. That's a pretty cool game. ESPN. I also play Monopoly a lot. I have the Slacker radio app, but I don't really use it that much because it's just easier to use it on my phone since I have 3G and Wi-Fi, whereas this is Wi-Fi only. But I use it a lot for that. And then like Twitter sometimes when I'm, again, just kind of like on the couch. So yeah, I mean, I don't use it for anything really vital. I could totally live without it, but it's cool and it was only $200 and yeah, I use it pretty much on a daily basis. When I'm chilling. Yeah, when I'm chilling, Yeah. I chill. Do you find people who walk into you when texting while walking annoying? I've never had that happen, so I don't know. Is it laggy? The Kindle Fire, yeah. It's and this is what I said when I did the review. You can watch that on Phone Dog. Yeah, it's like, okay, so if I switch from portrait to landscape, you can see it's kind of a delay, and then when I'm web browsing, it's not seamless. I mean, there is lag. Basically, with every app, whatever you're doing, it's not completely seamless and perfect. But at the same time, you have to understand it's only $200. It's a $200 tablet, and if you think about the other tablets out there for $200, there's a couple by Acer, I think, that are really inexpensive, that are pretty good. But for the most part, a $200 tablet is generally just crap. And so it's not perfect, but for the price, it's the best you're going to get, really. So yeah, I will say that. It is laggy, but I mean, you have to consider how cheap you're getting it for. The Apple logo. Yeah, I know. I told you guys I told you guys about that last week. I don't know if you were here. Yeah, I did this whenever I got my new MacBook Pro when Phone Dog gave it to me. Anyway, and so you guys know I talk about this all the time, how much I hate Apple. I mean, I use their products. Obviously, I have a MacBook Pro because they're good products, and I'm not stupid to where I'm not going to buy them. If it's the best I can get, then it's what I'm going to get. But I hate Apple, the company. Anyway, so I did this as a joke, really just an inside joke with myself that no one else would really get, because I hate them so much. And also because it's clearly not Apple, but I just did it. It's a really dumb, stupid thing, but I do stuff like that, and then I laugh about it to myself. Did HTC stop making tablets? I don't know. Let me see if we have any HTC tablets rumored. You know who has been owning the tablet market lately? Asus. Like, dude, they just have. So we heard about an HTC tablet, the Quattro. It was supposed to have a quad-core Tegra 3 processor, but that never came out. So that's all we've heard so far. Okay, couple more questions, and then I gotta go. Why do you hate Apple? Just their attitude, their business practices. They don't give their loyal customers what they want, whether it's a larger display or something like that. They sue everybody. They're stubborn. And mostly it's not so much that, it's the attitude that they invoke in their loyal fan base. Apple fans, and I've always felt this way even before I started working here and I got to know the Apple fan base. But every time I knew somebody who had a Mac, they were always the most stuck up, obnoxious, self-righteous people I had ever known. And it was like, all of them, they were all like that. And so I just developed this hatred for Apple. Now that, I have my job, I have a lot more experience with mobile devices, I've grown to appreciate their products. Like I said, I use a MacBook. I've grown to appreciate their products, but I still don't like the company. Just their attitude, I don't like. She's married. Yes, I'm married. Yeah. But anyway, that's all the time we have. I'm sorry if I didn't get to answer all of your questions. I apologize. You can send me a message on Twitter if you want at phonedog_Sydney, and I'll try to answer them. I try to answer some if I can, unless you send it to me at like 2 o'clock in the morning, in which case I will ignore you. But I guess that's it. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Leave your comments. I read those too. I respond to some of them again if I can. But that's it. I'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Ustream. All right. Bye.